Hey there folks, welcome back to another video from GDI. Today I'm bringing you one in the T34 American Tier 8 Heavy Tank, which is also a premium tank. I bought it when I was fairly new to the game and didn't understand how premium tanks worked at the time. Had I known what I know now, I probably wouldn't have bought it. But since I did buy it, I'm really glad I did because it's still an amazing machine and it does exactly what I need it to do. So the point of a premium tank, for those who aren't familiar, don't know enough about the game and would like to learn, the premium tanks are meant to grind credits because they're very cheap to repair and refit and whatnot, and they also can train up crews from the same country and the same class of tank without penalty to the crew. And what that means is that, say I have an American M103 or T110E5 and I want to put them into the tank, I can put them in here and use Brothers in Arms and their base crew training, and they won't receive a penalty for it. If I try that with any other tank or class or whatnot, I'll receive a penalty based on how it's transitioning. And I won't go into that too much. I just want to talk about premium tanks. So basically, what that means is I can use the crew is exactly as if it was trained for this tank. For me, you look at these crew members, they're trained for the T34, and that's because, if you look at my tech tree, I'm not interested in the American heavy tanks at all. I'm sure maybe if I play this game to 30,000 battles, I'm sure eventually I'll go down this line and the T34 will come in handy for that, but at this stage, I'm not interested in the T34 even a little bit, the American heavies even a little bit. So, as far as that goes, that's not too interesting for me. But what it is good for is that I use the T34 to train up crews for the T71 when I switched into that. You can see I skipped the entire American autoloader line up to the T71. That's why they still have price tags. I wasn't interested in playing any of those either. And it was also useful for me going into the Jackson. I went and cruised into these tanks with 6 cents already because of the T34. Where is it at? There it is. In my experience, I've had 3 premium tanks so far. You can see 2 of them right here, the SU-122-44, the T34, and the Super Pershing, which I no longer own. And this has been a great credit grinder. And based on what I know now from premium tanks, looking at some of the other premium tanks, I am willing. This is easily one of the strongest credit makers for premium tanks in the game. The reason for that is because the credits you make in a battle is directly correlated to the damage that you deal out. And this tank is very well equipped to deal out damage. Let's take a look at the gun. So here's the gun right here. 248 millimeters of penetration, 400 alpha damage, 0.35 accuracy, and a 3.4 second aiming time with 4 rounds a minute. Look at that penetration. That's outstanding for a tier 8, especially for a premium tank. Premium tanks are generally, I hear a lot of people in games say stuff about pay to win, and normally they're wrong. But the T34 is kind of the exception to that rule. It is an exceptional tank. Look at that. That's, 10 millimeters shy of a tier 10 medium, with exceptional alpha damage and really good accuracy. You put Brothers in Arms and Vent on a crew in this tank, and you're easily going to lower that more and increase the rate of fire and whatnot. The other thing that you have to consider is that the rate of fire, while not being great, a lot of the time, tanks that you're shooting at are going to, you hit them once and they're going to dive back into cover. Not a lot of tanks are going to sit around at tier 8, 9, and 10, which is the matches you can get into, that are going to, you hit them once and then they're going to sit in the open. Some bad players do that, and in those cases, yeah, rate of fire would be nice. But most of the time, you're going to have a chance to hit the tank once during your reload. And the tanks that reload really fast and do little damage, those are the tanks that suffer in those situations because, the high tier tank destroyers that can do massive amounts of alpha damage per 14 to 15 seconds, those are the tanks that get a lot of damage per battle. And you might, the DPM for the 2 tanks, comparing a fast firing medium or, even the British tank destroyers with some of the higher alpha tank destroyers with equal DPM, you see the higher alpha tanks doing way more damage per match. So in these cases, it's much more beneficial to have a higher pen alpha, and then just, you have all the time in the world to reload. I sit there and I pay attention to this in matches where I have, 30 to 60 seconds sometimes before I get another shot off. So I'd rather have the higher pen and alpha over lower alpha and a faster rate of fire any day of the week. So that 4 rounds a minute doesn't bother me. One of the other beauties about this tank is the gun mantlet and the turret. As I said, you can get into tier 10 matches in this tank, and that gun mantlet and turret really helps you out in those situations. So, this tank is a hull down tank. The hull armor is embarrassing for a tier 7 medium, let alone a tier 8 heavy. So this isn't what you're really counting on, even if you're in a tier 8 match. But if you're in a tier 10 match, this part right here is beautiful. So right now I want to take a look at that. So right now I have it exactly equipped in Tank Inspector. If you don't know what Tank Inspector is yet, then I don't know what you're doing. Go look it up. That's not beyond the scope of this video, but in any case, I have the tank equipped exactly the way I have it in game. Well, within a little bit of error, because the crew skills, I don't know if you can do that to an extent. I equipped Mentor. It obviously has no bearing on the tank itself, but just for authenticity. But anyway, so what I really want to look at here, beyond anything else, is the armor around the mantlet and the rest of the turret. So you can get this thing hull down, and you are, say, even at this angle, this is all covered up, because you look at this, 130 millimeters. There's tier 6 tanks that can go through this with just AP rounds. So, 87 through the gun port. So let's not really look at any of that. What I want to consider is if all this is covered up and you're just shooting it and you're hull down the way this tank is meant to be played, because this is a hull down tank, I want to see how much it takes to penetrate this tank. So, you look at certain parts of this turret, you're looking at 500 millimeters penetration, which is, 636. This is very good amount of penetration that you need to penetrate this turret. But what I want to note is that you look at the right side of the screen, it says 178 millimeters of armor on the turret, and then 203 spaced armor, and then the angling and whatnot, because it is towards the edge a little bit. But if I move my mouse right here, notice how the actual armor of the turret goes down to 0, and all you have is 279 millimeters of penetration. So for example, the ISU 152 with 281 millimeters of penetration on average probably wouldn't have a problem with penetrating this area of the turret most often. The problem there is that the ISU 152 and the Object 704, which shares the same gun but slightly better accuracy, is that they still both have pretty terrible accuracy. So I wouldn't really try to aim for this, because look at that, that's 57 millimeters, 88 at best. You get down to this ring right here, then you're getting 495. This is a much easier target to hit. But if you want to challenge, I guess, I don't know why I'm saying hit this, but I just want to point out that this is a weaker spot. So, maybe new players that have high penetrating guns, they still might get you through here, but it's still, 279 millimeters penetration that you need to get through this spot, it's still very, very high. And if they're firing heat, it's just going to stop here. It's not going to get beyond that. So they need APCR or AP to get through the spaced armor anyway. But then let's move on to the actual turret itself. Even right here, we're looking at 281, 260 something, 300. This is a very hard tank to penetrate when it's pulled down. Its huge weak spot is up here. This is it. You look at some of the rest of this too. I don't know what's picking up here. 90 millimeters. That may be true, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because I've gotten penned a lot from right here. This is a very weak part of the weak. I've seen plenty of rounds go through in this spot when I'm examining where I've gotten hit. So this is also a weak spot. What I'd also like to point out is that these tracks are massive, and this is a spaced armor as well. So if you can angle this tank the right way, look at this, all NA, impenetrable. So this is a good way to angle the tank. I don't want to give too much away, but I've been in tier 10 matches walking away from a lot of penalty, or with a lot of potential damage, because people just refuse to, shoot at me where they should, which is here. They're trying to go for my weak hull, which isn't so weak at this angle. So side scraping is not a bad thing in this tank. It does have very weak hull armor, and it's very well known for it. But if you know how to play it right, this thing will pay off in spades. And I hope I'll point that out later. Let's check out some of the other details. So with Brothers in Arms events, that accuracy goes down to 0.32, which is sniper quality. And the aim time, where is it? I don't see it. Oh, there it is, 2.84, which isn't good by any means, but it's not bad. The other thing is that the reload has gone up to, the rate of fire has gone up to 4.844 rounds per minute. So, that's not too terrible either. So the big thing here is that the penetration and the alpha and the accuracy are where they need to be, and the armor is where it needs to be, so you can keep your gun exposed for as long as possible. Because if you got to keep, backing in and out with such a long aim time, that's going to really hurt you. But in this tank, it's easier to stay put, especially with matches with no arty. It's an amazing tank to do that. And as I pointed out with side scraping, this tank doesn't lack on city map. So I've covered everything else I want to really cover about this tank in the garage. I just want to point out, like you can see here, that my crew has camo, and it doesn't really look what a heavy tank really should be. And the reason for that is, as I've noted, is that I'm moving these crews from the T34, where I train them up while I'm grinding credits, and then I move them into other tanks. And these two particular crew members I was training up for a tank destroyer. So, it doesn't look like it fits, but for now that's just where they are in this tank. Some of these other crew members I'm training up to get in my T34E1, which I haven't decided whether or not I want to keep, but that's a different video. But in any case, let's get into some replays. Alright, so here's the first match I wanted to show off. We're on Siegfried Line, we're bottom tier, and a T34. Well, obviously a T34. So all the videos that I want to... obviously I'm not going to show... I'm going to show good videos, but I kind of want to prove certain things about this tank. The first one being that, obviously the hull is very weak on this thing. And you can't type and talk, or type and try to play at the same time. That's why I just fired like that. But, so anyway, the hull is very weak on this thing, and I've always, I hear a lot of players that are inexperienced at the game. They claim that side scraping this thing is, not a good idea. Don't ever do anything with your hull showing, so on and so forth. And this is the best place to prove them wrong. We're on a city map in a tier 10 match. So there's no better place than this to prove people wrong on that point. So I'm just trying to get my bearings right now, trying to figure out what the enemy team's doing, trying to figure out where I want to go. I know I'm outgunned in this, so I load up APCR because I don't want to really have to place my shots very carefully. And the AP rounds are very strong, but APCR is going to make sure I don't have to do anything. There we go. First shot by a Foch 155. Tier 10 auto loader tank destroyer. I repair because I see 3 tanks, one of them being a Foch 155, so I don't want to really stick around. But we can see that as many shots as I'm taking, I have yet to take any actual damage. And I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of the match. Another bounce. KV4 is not a bad gun. Nothing to laugh at. IS-4, fire heat into my tracks, which is another thing. When you're firing heat, you don't ever want to shoot at the hull of the tank. Any tank, really, unless it's the back or the front. Because you run the risk of hitting spaced armor like the tracks. The tracks do count as spaced armor. And heat rounds will go right in the tracks and do absolutely no damage. So the Foch is getting smart and he's starting to fire HE at me. And I'm still kind of perma-tracked here, which is fine. I don't give a shit. They're just wasting rounds on me at this point, and they're not actually really doing any effective damage to my team. So if I can keep 2 to 3 of their tanks occupied and firing HE at me, then I've done my job. So the T110E3 gets in front of me and he takes some shots, which gives me enough time to repair my tracks. So now I'm just waiting. Still side scraping. Actually, I'm gonna pause for a second. And we can see the angle that I'm backing out at, and all this stuff on the side that I'm showing is all spaced armor to begin with, but it's not an excessive angle either, where AP can go in. So I'm trying to move into a... I can't decide whether or not I want to move out or what I want to do yet. So the Foch the tier 9 Foch is spotted. Puts another one into my track. Still firing HE. Actually, I don't know if I even took damage. I think I did on that one.
Track fixed. Let's roll.
So I don't want to get out of here too fast because the Foch will decimate.
We've lost a track.
Puts another one into my tracks. That's okay with me.
They killed our driver.
You got me that time, yeah.
Track repaired. Drive on. We didn't even scratch them.
Took a kind of a rush shot there because I didn't want to get hit. I got hit anyway. Foch takes a shot and bounces, so I want to move out and try to track him. That'll buy me some time. And 4502, and I'm not even close to reloaded. Foch takes another shot. So I'm just playing games with these tier 9 tanks. Foch 155 left a long time ago because he knew better than to try to trade shots with me like that. He knew that not that he couldn't trade shots, he could obviously trade shots with me, but he wasn't going to kill me. He was only going to get him spotted by already. Spotted forward already. Driver back in action as 4502 is coming around. He bounces off me, thank God. So I'm trying to move back and forth, trying to give him not much to shoot at. The Foch 155 saved my life. So thankfully, because I kept at least 2 to 3 tanks at any given time, between the KV4, the Foch 155, the tier 9 Foch, and the 4502B, at any given time I had 2 to 3 tanks trying to shoot at me, which was enough to let the rest of our team just mop up. So here, we have 2 tanks left and I'm moving up on them. So try not to rush into this too much, because I know they're probably both over here still. But then, after a match like this, I eventually get a little ballsy after the T110E3 spotted in the same spot. Thinking, you know what, I'm just going to rush forward, because I'll spot the Object 268 before he can shoot at me anyway. Which, in retrospect, not the best idea. Object 268 is pretty good camera, and I don't spot him until after he fires at me. And that's okay. We won anyway. Let's just speed this up a little bit through the end. just won't die. There we go. There we go. Alright, so here are the results. Nothing. 1,252 or 1,252 for those of you that can count. Experience 54,000 credits. Not a great amount of credits for this match, but considering how much actual damage I did, that's still pretty good. But this match wasn't so much about doing damage and making credits. I was in a tier 10 match on a city map in a T34. It's just about surviving and getting a win. Let's look at a little damage. Alright, so I'm about middle of the list. Nothing impressive. I didn't really want to be anything impressive in this match. Being anything impressive means, sitting at range and sniping, or, having some sort of something in front of your hull where you can just constantly do or be taking shots. And I didn't have any of that. The most I could do was, as I said, do the best thing that I could do for the team, which is keep a couple of their tanks occupied. Alright, so this is the part I want to show off. Almost 10,000 potential damage. So I put this up for a particular reason, and it wasn't because the damage output that I did was particularly impressive or surviving in a tier 10 match. Is because I wanted to point out that it was possible to side scrape in a tank with such a weak hull, especially because the tracks are so massive, and tracks are spaced armor. And we even saw that IS-4 try to put a heat round into the side of my tank, and my tracks just ate it up completely. That's, so side scraping. Let's all learn how to do that, please. Anyway, on to the next match. Alright, so here's the second match that I want to show. You notice it's another tier 10 match. IS-7s versus E100s. You notice this, obviously this is another tier 10 match, and this is the second tier 10 match that I'm showing out of 2 matches. Which should prove how overpowered this tank is if I'm willing to, not show off me being top tier, but me showing off being bottom tier. And if I can do well enough being bottom tier in this tank, how well do you think I can do being top tier? Which, we'll get into that in the next match. So anyway, I'm kind of moving to the side here. I don't really want to sit out or get, first up here, like the T69 and the AMX 1390 are going to do. Obviously, the 1390 is a scout. I want to let these tier 10s go up first because they're going to take hits much better than I would. So I'm going to move up to this rock here. Now you notice that anything that I'm really going to engage with is going to be 400 to 500 meters out, and I'm still trying to side scrape. It's always a good idea to side scrape, as the last match that we've seen. We always want to, minimize the chance that you're going to get any damage done to yourself. Navarron's up, but I'm not moving back to try and engage him. The T30, on the other hand, I don't see any reason why not. But the map sees differently. So again, I'm just waiting here. This is not a great map, even being top tier in this tank, to just rush out and do anything. And that everybody's kind of just sitting around. Oh, here we go. That is a beautiful shot.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
And somehow I bounced. I must have hit its spaced armor just right. Should have been able to go through. It's okay. So I'm seeing the Lorraine 40T on the map, along with 2 E100s and an E75 to the south, thinking that we just don't have enough support to the south to hold off that kind of offensive. So I'm starting to move back a little bit, but I want to still engage this E100 and T30 if I have the opportunity to. So I don't have much on the E100. Just looking for something.
Enemy armor is damaged.
And ironically enough, with nothing practically showing, I still put one into him. Alright, so now the 2 E100s are moving up. The Lorraine 40T's, trying to advance. So I'm thinking it's time to move up. Now this is something I want to point out too. You'll notice that after I take a shot, I'm not backing down. The treetops actually do count as camo, so you want to stay behind those. And if you can stay behind those, then and you're far enough back from them, then you won't actually be spotted after firing. So that's why I'm still staying up here. It's a great spot for me to be in to support the rest of my team that's over here. And a lot of the shots that you're going to see me take on these E100s, they're not actually all intended to do damage. A lot of them are just intended to track them so that way the IS-7, the T-30, and the Tortoise can just have their free reign on, to do whatever they want to. Because they'll be able to do more damage to the E100s than I will. Of course, if I have the opportunity to do damage, then I'm going to do that too. So I made the right decision by abandoning the west flank. You notice on the map that they're starting to push all the way through. I just get a side shot on the E100's turret. So you see here I'm aiming for the track. One of the other nice things is that the E100 has a spot on its tracks where if you can hit it just right, you'll not only track him, but you'll also penetrate his hull, which is very weak in that spot. IS-3's pushing up. It's alright, I'm going to take the E100 first. Aiming for that spot in the tracks. If I don't have it, I'm going to go for his turret instead.
Enemy armor is hit.
Right into the side of the IS-3. IS-3's armor, if it's not angled at that, against this gun, I'll definitely always put it in.
We didn't even scratch
So I'm aiming for that weak spot, but I don't get the damage. I do get the track, which is enough. So I'm locking up my turret, but I'm trying to keep an eye on where the T-28 is, because if I fire while he's in view range of me, he's close enough that he's going to spot me.
penetration.
I'm going for that sweet spot, but instead I hit his lower plate. You notice I still haven't moved from this spot. This is a great spot to be in. Just trying to keep an eye on that T-28 and the AMX 1390. They both look static though, so that's fine. I'm waiting for him to move up just a little bit.
Penetration.
He gets cocky and moves up. He's still moving up. Takes a big hit there from the T-30.
Enemy armor is
And there's the sweet spot. I track him and do damage. And I was waiting for my team to move around on him and get an extra shot. Maybe the T-30 would reload and... But anyway, they don't do any of that and he survives and pulls back. Nailed the E75. We can see already I'm up to 3,800 damage and I have not moved from this spot. Just behind these trees. They're 328 meters away, but the trees are keeping me completely concealed even while I'm firing.
enemy armor is hit.
Right into the side of that turret. Not much showing, but it's enough. So now they're starting to realize that something over... I mean, obviously they know I'm over here because I've seen them try to look at me a couple times. But they're starting to realize that they're not going to win this engagement with me still here, so they pull completely back. Our west flank is completely folded. Try to take one on the E75. See the side of his turret showing, but it does get a bounce. Probably hit his upper plate. And there's the other E100. He's completely moved.
Enemy is hit.
All the way back, and now he's down to one hit. If I get one lucky high roll on him, slightly high roll, then I can knock him out myself. But that works too. So now there's one E100 and an E75 left over here. I don't have much to shoot at, so I'm holding my shot, waiting for one of them to make a stupid decision. I have the Leopard prototype behind me that's gonna spot before anything moves up on me, so I'm not too worried about getting my rear shot at. AMX 1390 starting to move around, and I'm being very aware of that. So it's looking like this position is worn out its welcome. But from being just in this position, I've done 4,600 damage, and single-handedly I kept those two E100s from moving up just by myself. So the reality is that the Tortoise, the T30, and the IS-7 weren't really doing that, and if I wasn't here, they probably would have gotten overtaken. Just the fact that they knew I was on this side taking shots on them, but they couldn't see me, was enough to keep them at bay. You never always consider the scare effect. And we always fear what we don't understand, what we don't know. So in this case, they knew I was there, but they didn't know what I was. Probably they knew what I was because I was doing tracking damage. But if they don't know when the next shot is coming in, then they're not going to be so keen to get out. So now that that flank's completely cleared up, I want to move over to this other flank, where they got two tanks remaining on this flank that were last spotted over here anyway. And I think a Jagdtiger's left. Yep. But he wasn't spotted yet. He might be AFK in the base, or maybe waiting for everybody in the base. So he's behind the building, so there's really nothing I can really do here. So I'm going to continue to side scrape, and I'm going to continue to reposition myself, because I want to get ready for that tier 8, whatever that thing is. Just in case I get spotted, I want to minimize the amount of damage that I could possibly take. Starting to realize that he might not be here anymore. So I'm going to get out of here. There's a Jagdtiger spotted. And this happens to me every time on this map. There's like 4 places I get stuck consistently. So let's just speed this up here while I'm getting out. Always happens to me. I'm actually going to speed it through the rest of the match as well. I got a little bit of a drive to go. Tortoise is getting lit up. So I'm thinking I might not be done with damage yet. Never stop moving. You never know when you're going to get that last hit in. Here it comes. Here it comes. Nope. Denied. Oh, wait, am I going to get him on the left? Wait for it. Denied. And that's game. That's match number 2. This one was 4,899 experience for a ×3. We got Confederate and Sniper, and 108,000 credits. You know, what kind of other tier 8 tanks are going to get this kind of credit output? Let's look at some damage output. So out of everyone on my team, I did top damage, including the 3 IS-7s that were platooned together. You know, I didn't really expect anything different out of this team, to be honest, but it goes to show that me being where I was, I don't think we would have won had I not been there. Those E100s would have pushed around on the IS-7, the T30, and the Tortoise, and that would have been wraps. They already did a great job, but not enough, unfortunately. So 17 rounds fired, 15 penetrations. Probably about 14 or 13 did actual damage. But, we saw me up there just constantly I didn't even have a reason to move because the trees were keeping me completely concealed. So, but made a 90,000 credit profit on that one. 1,633 experience for the single. So not a bad matchup. Okay, so here's the last replay. We're again on Northwest. We are top tier this time rather than bottom tier. Unfortunately, they have an extra tier 8 tank over us, and neither team really looks that impressive, and since they have an extra tier 8 tank, I'm kind of just assuming the worst here. But still too early to give up, so we're going to keep pressing on. I traditionally come to this side of the map. I don't really like going to the south and covering that because that all depends on them pushing up into our base in order for me to take shots, or I'd have to move into theirs. And it's just a narrow passage. Into the mines, I don't really like that, not in this tank. As I mentioned, the hull very weak, and yeah, you can side scrape and get hull down, but if they try to flank around on you, then that's, you're not going to do much. You're going to get lit up pretty quick. So this is about the safest bet for me. Just waiting for the scouts to spot stuff. Yak Panther stopped way too far back. Alright, now we're starting to light stuff up. The T34-85, the AMX 1375, and the Chaffee's been lit. There goes the 110, the AMX 46, and the T34, all on this side. So this looks like the side that I need to be on to help the team anyway. So I'm going to feather over the 110, see if I can't get this shot. He goes up from being unspotted, or too unspotted. I didn't really have too much to shoot at, so I'm not going to take a blind shot. Trying to be mindful of that 1375 below me, so I don't want to try and climb up over this ridge to take a shot to the right. So I'll move up a little bit behind the AT-15. Starting to move up a little too far, to be honest. Alright, here we go. Here's a shot I can take. The Yak Panther. Alright, first shot goes in. I'm going to stay here for a little bit. Hopefully I can reload before he pulls completely back. And he drops off. Don't necessarily think I want to take a blind shot for that one, so I'm not going to. I'm going to feather over this SU-100M1. It's not showing me too much, though. Already the AT-15 has taken way too many hits. That's not a great sign, especially with the amount of tanks that we have on this side. So now I'm thinking about moving back a little bit. If I can get one or two more shots, then that's already too many. So even the AT-15's moving back, so, and all he needs is one more shot, and then I'm the strongest thing in the way on this flank. So I don't really want to be here anymore. T-32's spotted and tracked. Hopefully I can put in a shot. I was thinking I could put one into his side, but that one goes into the ground, which means he probably repaired his tracks as soon as he went unspotted. So somebody's firing HE at the AT-15, and he is now dead. So, this is not looking very good. We're 1-6. And one of our tier 8s is just camping in base for absolutely no reason. And now he decides to move out of base just into the open. So I'm not understanding this logic here. So right now I just gotta move back into base. At least if I'm in base, then I can at least combine my gun with the people that are camping there. I can't keep them from camping, but the best thing I can do is just make sure all of our guns are in one spot. So here I had the option to either turn around and run away or to back up and run away. And I chose to back up because it takes quite a bit for the tank to traverse in place, and I would have to traverse in place before I can completely turn around and run away. And we see how close that T34-85 was, or is rather. If I had turned around in place, that might have been the end of me. There's still lots of tanks on that ridge over down the 2 line. So it just so happened that he pushed up just slow enough that I could back up. I'm not entirely convinced that if I would have tried to turn around and back away, that I would have made it out. So this 3001 is still camping here, which he hasn't moved the entire match. Takes a shot from the Centurion or Jagdpanther 2. I'm not really sure which one. But he does bounce it because it was at an extreme angle. So now I'm going to try and side scrape around. We saw how that works already in that tier 10 match. Side scraping around, I want to get a shot on the Centurion. He makes it really easy for me by showing me the side of his tank. There goes the Centurion. Now we're 5 and 9. But the only thing on this side of the map is the Jagdpanther and the 3001P. And unfortunately, if they get overtaken, then there's not really any way that I can sit in this spot. Because yeah, I can get hull down. But if they want to run up on me fast enough, then they can just shoot straight into my hull, and there's nothing I can do. So I want to get out of here, and I want to put distance in between me and them. The more ground that they have to cover in order to be able to do that, the better. So simultaneously, while I'm moving to the other side of the map, or the other side of the base rather, I want to try and help out this side. But I put one into the cupola, and it doesn't seem to go in. Or at least I put one near the cupola. So this is an interesting choice that 4502 is making. I'm seeing that he's starting to move around, and I'm thinking, well, this is perfect. He's in the open. I don't have to take shots on his cupola. I just take shots on the side of his tank. So I'm trying to put one into the side of his turret. Got a penetration, which is perfect. 600 health left, so now I'm going to try and get hull down, take out this AC-46. So I don't think there's a very good chance he's going to be able to penetrate. Puts one into the side of my turret. Now I can take him out. That's why you always want to make sure you get hull down as best as possible. I still haven't taken any damage this map. Cromwell to my front, which surprises me a little bit, but he's not really a tank that I'm concerned with. If I can get this 4502 taken out, then that's what I'm really going for. Hellcat misses and puts one into the destroyed tank in front of me. Cromwell I'm still not worried about. Even if he does damage to me, it's not going to be enough. So this is the tank that I wanted to hit. Try to take one without being fully aimed in on the hull of the T34, and I unfortunately miss, which is not uncommon. So now I'm completely in cover from the Hellcat and the T34, so I can shift my focus to the Cromwell. I want to keep that 3001P alive, even though he's not really helping out at all. So I'm going to continue to side scrape a little bit. There's the T34. I'm going to show just enough of myself, but he's backing up, and I see that, so I try to get one shot on the Hellcat before he comes back around, which works out in my favor. There he is again. He takes a shot, which is beautiful because now I'm reloaded, and I'm ready to take out the Hellcat. Yeah, it was unfortunate for the Hellcat that's what that kind of help that he had. So the 3001P is moving around. So I'm thinking that he needs to go cap, because I don't think there's any way that we can win this engagement. Because they have an Arty and a 110 in our base, and the Jagdpanther he wasn't really doing anything all match. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any way that we can hold them off. I think our best option is to go and try to cap. Because between their Arty, the T34, and the 110, they have a tremendous amount of firepower over us. So I see the 3001P is clearly not doing what he should be doing, but I'm thinking that the T34 was moving on him, because I wasn't really watching the minimap as well as I should have, but he was moving on me instead, so I took an unnecessary hit in my hull. But I'm going to try and track him, move around on him before he can get a shot on me, which ends up working out. But now I'm too slow to really angle myself properly. He puts one into my hull. But this is what really confuses me, why he chose to do this. He turns his turret completely away from me. He could have easily killed me. Well, maybe not killed me, but he could have gotten another shot on me. So there goes the T34. I rush my shot on the 110 because I'm worried about taking damage. But luckily for me, he doesn't do any actual damage. So now I want to get out of here. I don't want to fight at long range for the 110. Even though realistically I probably could take him. He does take another shot, and again, no damage. Which is perfect. 3001P wasn't as smart, and he tries to take the 110 at range. And if I don't want to take the 110 at range, then there's no reason why he should want to take it. There's no way he's going to be able to penetrate that tank. And all he really needed to do was to go to cap. But instead he chose not to. So this is where I'm really excited for a second. They do have Artie, but the 110's basically told me exactly where he is and what he's planning to do. He's planning to try to outcap. And I think what he's might be trying to do is try to get me to bait me in so that Artie could take a shot on me. But either way, I load up APCR because bounce or not, or poor angle or not, I want to make sure that I have him dead. I do take an unnecessary hit because I wasn't feathering properly. But that's okay. Take the shot and I move back, thank God. Already missed. So now this is looking like an engagement I might be able to win. But it's with 4 minutes, this is kind of cutting it close. This is depending on both their Artie and their scout being in base. Because that's the only place that I think to go. I see that the scout was loaded, or last spotted in C4, but I mean, come on. Why would he still be there at this point? He was last spotted, at least 5, 7, 8 minutes ago. So that I don't see any reason why I would think that he'd still be there. If anything, I think he's still in the base because he's not a great player. And I'm thinking maybe he thinks that he can defend their base against me. I'm thinking that he doesn't want to assault my base and try to cap because as far as he knows, I was last spotted there. So I'm trying to take advantage of what I know about him as a player from XVM. And I'm trying to make guesses based on what he's doing. So, and this couldn't have worked out more perfectly. The Artie's trying to run out of base and into me. Oh, thank God I made that shot too. If I wouldn't have made that shot, he could have easily ran away from me and I would have never caught him. Potentially I would have never caught him. Because I got a lot of traversing to do around this cliff before I would have caught up to him. So now the only things left is the Lukes. I already got my top gun. And here, I'm trying to be clever about this. Because again, I'm trying to take advantage of my XVM. I know that he's not a great player. So I'm trying to make him think like I don't care about winning this game anymore. Because I got my XP for winning anyway, because I got a Heroes Medal. So I'm trying to make him think that I don't care about the winning and that he can just come and kill me and get the win. Because I'm trying to be generous, which isn't the case. I want to bait him into coming to get me. Which unfortunately I don't have enough time to cap out. So the only way that I can win is if he tries to come and get me. Oh, and there it is. 110 gives him away. So before where I was thinking there's no possible way that he's still in C4. Apparently he's stuck there. Or at least I think he's stuck there. And my only shot at winning is to go find him. Otherwise, it's going to be a draw if I don't find him either way. So the 110 gives it away. It says that he's spotted. Or, AFK and stuck. So, but the 110 realizes, or must realize, that that was a bad idea. Because he doesn't confirm that he's in C4, but I'm going to keep heading that way anyway, because whether or not I head to his last spotted location, it's going to be a draw if I don't kill him. I didn't have enough time to cap out. And thank God I was right. He was last spotted in C4, and that's where he was stuck. So I'm going to fully aim in because I don't want to miss this shot, even with 45 seconds.
Enemy vehicle destroyed.
There it goes. 7 kills and a win. Alright, here it is. 143,000 credits I made on this match. Steel wall, Top Gun. 4,600 experience. This was for a ×2 event. Doesn't show as a ×2, but this was for a ×2. Let's look at some. I mean, just look how many tanks that I interacted with in one way or another. 5,100 damage, not completely unexpected. Actually, a little surprising to me, even though I played this game and I've already obviously seen this replay. But getting 5,100 damage in a tier 8 match, it wasn't so impressive in a. I mean, obviously getting anything above 4,000 damage is good, but having a couple E100s to shoot at all match, you have a lot of health to take away from the enemy, so it makes it a lot easier. But if I gotta pick and choose my targets in tier 8 matches, I mean, it's easier to get kills, but 5,100 damage in a tier 8 match is pretty good. Not surprising that I got the most damage. Not surprising that I did more than double from the second top damage on the team. That's the nature of the game, though. I wasn't expecting much out of either team. Their Hellcat did a pretty good job, considering he's tier 6, bottom tier. 7 kills. Anyway, potential damage 3,500. So still, because I was hold down for when I needed it, and obviously taking hits from tanks that didn't know what they were doing. But anyway, the takeaway for this one is to, just because a match is poorly put together, if I could say that, it's no reason to just give up. Always just keep going. You never know what kind of carry matches you're going to end up having. And I got, just from a profit alone, I made 114,000 credits. For a single, it was 2,307 XP. I didn't end up getting the ace tanker for it. I already got an ace tanker for this tank a long time ago. But this is, 2,307 XP for the match. Not bad. So that's it for the T34. I'm sure at this point people are trying to figure out, is this the premium tank I should be getting? And, well, it comes down to personal preference. Some people prefer the IS-6, and, it's got really good sloped armor. T34 has a great turret and gun. Super Pershing is awful. I'm not really trying to figure out whether or not one premium tank is better than the other. I just want to really point out that this is a great premium tank for tier 8. Got a great turret, great armor on that. It's got a great gun on it, which is just far superior over every other tier 8 premium tank in my opinion. Take that for what it's worth. But in any case, if you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up, give me a comment below. I always like to hear, things that I could be doing better, or what you like about the videos, you the viewer. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to my channel. I got some other videos on there that are definitely worth watching. I do have other content on the way, but at this point it's, I'm not doing this for a living, so it's just when I get time to do it, I'm going to put these videos up, and hopefully they're entertaining to watch. But anyway, until next time, you guys take it easy.